to go pick her up. So yeah, never mind. Right, Dan the man is there.
Oh yes.
Yeah. It's all right, Dan. We're just talking amongst ourselves. So muted anyway. He can't hear us. Oh, he's all right. He's unmuted.
I can hear you. I've been feeding the dog. Very important. Keep it quiet. Stop barking. Yeah, got to be done. Well, look, good evening, everyone. Let me just mute everyone. So first of all, just to let you know that I am obliged to tell you that this evening has been recorded on YouTube. So just be aware of anything that's said or done, because everything is being recorded this evening. And if you're not happy about that, you're welcome to leave. So this evening we've got I think a really good evening lined up. We've got an hour of fun and games. We've got 4 fantastic guests lined up, and I really hope you're going to enjoy them, and I hope you've got a few questions for them as well. So I'm really pleased that we're back with our forum. I think it's something we started obviously during the lockdown, but something that we've tried to continue, albeit not quite as regularly because we're all busy, we've all got things going on, but nevertheless letting them crop up every now and again so that we can get together over Zoom and hopefully speak to a few of our guests this evening. So thank you very much for joining us. I suppose probably you had no excuse. It's freezing cold outside. I'm a Celebrity is cancelled for tonight. What else could you possibly be doing on an evening like this? So really pleased you're able to come along. It has, of course, been our most successful ever year. 26 winners, we've had 20 second places, so it's been a brilliant year so far. Still lots of fun to come, but I think one thing I did want to say just before we get going and catch up with our first guest is I think what has made this year so special is actually not so much what's happened on the race course, but also what's happened off it as well. We've had lots and lots of stable visits. We've had a golf day. We've got the RSA Golf Day coming up next year. So this is the Racehorse Syndicates Association Golf Day. Now, I can tell you, other syndicates, I don't know if we can get a team out. Oh dear, difficult to get a team out. Foxtrot, 3 teams. We're in it. We want to win it. Let's go. So we're looking forward to that next year. We've got, I think we offer a bit of a nice behind the scenes experience as well with all these forums and stable visits and chatting to trainers and all the videos we try and put on YouTube as well. We've got a trip to Newmarket organised for next year. So looking forward to catching up with a lot of you there. So that'll be a really good day. And the 15th of December, we decided we're going to do an annual Foxtrot drink. So we're going to go around each yard. The other trainers don't know this yet, but we're going to go around the yards, and they're going to provide us with not Christmas carols, but a bit of mince pie and a mulled wine. No better way to start a day. So 9 a.m. at Ollie Murphy's on the 15th of December. Looking forward to seeing you all there in your Christmas hats. So that should be a nice Foxtrot get together just before Christmas. But I think what perhaps makes this year so much fun has been the enthusiasm from all the syndicate. We've had COVID, we've had all the problems, but we've all been there in our droves to get racing, go to the same visits, and we've had lots and lots of fun. But I think what has particularly stood out for me is the way that we've always ensured that whatever happens on the race course, win or lose, and let's be frank, we end up losing more often than we win because that's the nature of this sport, that the horses have always come first. There's been no better example of that than Little Roy Mack, who we retired this week. And he has been, I think an example of how horses should be treated by their owners. This is a horse that had a horrific fall at Uttoxeter, and he has been nursed back to health by Dr. Richard Newland and his staff. I think in truth with little chance of ever racing again, but the owners have, without hesitation, paid for everything he's needed to make sure he can make a full recovery. And I'm delighted to say that he's sound, he's healthy, and we'll find him a lovely home. And I think that is exactly how racehorse owners should treat their horses. And a real thank you to all of the owners of Little Roy Mack for their unhesitating and complete support on the way that we've dealt with him and ensured that he can live a happy and healthy rest of his life away from the racecourse. So let's get back to the racing. And our first guest this evening is someone that many of us have known for a number of years. He started off as a £10 claimer riding for Foxtrot Racing, but now is still a regular in the saddle for us. He does a huge amount of work, not only on the racecourse, but also off the racecourse. But I thought we'd introduce him, at least start off with, just by giving us a little reminder of some of the success that he's had for Foxtrot Racing this season.
As Rebel Leader goes towards the second last, pursued by the pace-setting Orchestrated. These two prominent throughout, still clear of Mariner's Moon being pressured by Fact Flow as they run the turn now with a quarter mile or so to travel and just the one fence to jump. And it's Rebel Leader. Has he fought off the attentions of Orchestrated? Fact Flow has moved into third. He's 10 lengths away, plugging on determinedly under pressure. And these two have been going hammer and tongs for a long way here. Rebel Leader turns in front, Orchestrated in second, struggling to raise another effort. Fact Flow is third, Mariner's Moon ease right off, Le Fremantle is still going, and it's Rebel Leader. Orchestrated about 4 lengths down as they come to the last. Rebel Leader plunged at it, but he got over it safely enough. Orchestrated is rallying very gamely under pressure. A half furlong to cover. Rebel Leader being driven out, staying on stoutly here under Charlie Hammond, and Rebel Leader sees off Orchestrated in a race they dominated throughout.
This is 3 from home, and it was Rebel Leader, the red cap. Along the inside is More Bucks. Within behind them, Catalytic away to the right. Fresh New Dawn is also trying hard to get on terms as they gallop on down towards the second last fence, and it is Rebel Leader under Charlie Hammond. Fresh New Dawn now delivering a challenge along the inside, but around about a length and a half down. Catalytic is back in third. More Bucks with a little more to offer back in fourth. Going towards the final fence, it is Rebel Leader at the last now. Rebel Leader a length ahead to in second place, Fresh New Dawn. Catalytic back in third with around about 3 lengths to find. A long run in here, and it is Rebel Leader who shows in front, just drifting to his right. He needs to go left. In second place is Fresh New Dawn. Fresh New Dawn is 2.5, 3 lengths behind this leader. Rebel Leader's keeping up the pace and is off the mark. Rebel Leader scores, leading into second position Fresh New Dawn. Catalytic in third.
Down towards the final flight they go. Barley Body got over in a fashion. Glen True wasn't particularly tidy either, and it's Barley Body now by a couple of lengths to Glen True, who's battling very hard, but inside the final half furlong they go, and Barley Body has always travelled well and is going to take this out nicely in the end by 2.5 to 3 lengths to Glen True, who's finished in second spot.
This is an open ditch. Mr. Muldoon really set a light there going towards the ditch. Now Mr. Muldoon coming to it, over it, and is about 5 or 6 lengths clear of the Paddy Pie. Instant replay has been pulled up before the ditch, so only 2 going. Mr. Muldoon having an easy time of things now in front, and the Paddy Pie making very little impression at the moment with a furlong and a half to go. 1 more fence to jump, and Mr. Muldoon is cruising along towards the final fence. Mr. Muldoon from the Paddy Pie at the last. It's all about this last jump, and there are no issues there. Mr. Muldoon is on the flat. It's another Sedgefield success for Mr. Muldoon, trained by Dr. Richard Newland and partnered by Charlie Hammond.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted that Charlie can join us this evening. So, Charlie, how are you?
I'm all good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, very good. And thanks again for joining us. Listen, first of all, on behalf of everyone at Foxtrot Racing, congratulations on 100 winners. An absolutely fantastic achievement. So well done.
No, well, thank you very much. And it's nice to have actually done it on so many Foxtrot horses. I mean, going back many years, I rode my 10 pound claim out. So I had my 5th winner was on Blagger Pass. So, I mean, that's a long time ago, but it's been good. It's been a good few years.
Well, it has, and we're very grateful for all the success that we've enjoyed together, and long may it continue. If anyone's got any questions for Charlie, we'll have a little bit of time for questions at the end. So there's 2 ways you can do it. You can use the reaction button at the bottom of your screen to put your hand up, and if you do so, I'll come to you. Or if you'd rather ask a question sort of indirectly, you can use the chat button at the bottom of the screen. And if you type your question there, I'll pass that on to Charlie for you. So do feel free to get involved. This is hopefully a forum, a discussion, and a chance for everyone to ask those questions that you've always wanted to ask a top jockey. So Charlie, let me start off and just, I mentioned before that you do a lot of work sort of off the course as well as on it, but can you give us a little bit of explanation as to sort of what your role is, obviously at Dr. Richard Newland's yard, and you know what you do there to help prepare the horses for the racecourse?
So I've been at Richards nearly 8 years now, and a lot has changed, obviously, because we've gone from having 12 horses to having 60 odd horses in training at any point. When I first started, I just rode out, and then after a few years, a few things changed a little bit. So then I started feeding and doing the lot list and figuring out what horses should do what with Rod. And then since we've moved to the new yard, that stayed going, but obviously there's a lot more horses to think through. So we go through all the schooling, what we think we should school before runs and stuff like that. That's the fairly easy way of doing it. But then you've got the other aspects of it where I think you have WizKid now, or are going to have WizKid maybe.
So we do, yeah.
I have actually been doing all the schooling with WizKid, so obviously he's only run on the flat. So we've been doing a lot in the menage with him over the last week of just going over poles, then gradually building up to straights, and then we've actually made him. He's actually jumped a hurdle the last twice I've been in the menage. And hopefully, I think we plan on going in there once more tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, hopefully, you should get a video maybe of us going up the actual hurdles, as long as it all goes well anyway. But he's been very good. You know, early on, I thought he'll get there. It might take a bit more time. But actually, the last couple of days, it's really clicked with him. And so we start off slowly, obviously, because if they can't do it slowly, they'll never be able to do it quick in a race. You've got to get the basics right. It's the same as teaching a kid to do anything. You know, if you do the basics right, you can then move on to the harder stuff. And the last couple of days, it's all clicked, and he really wants to do it. So we do all sorts of schooling stuff like that, and then there's all the aftercare as well. A lot of the girls in the yard do all the aftercare, but I've done all from all the jumping to everything. It's really nice actually seeing a young horse like that progress as well.
Well, it's a really interesting insight into a horse like WizKid that's probably never jumped anything in its life before, and suddenly you've got to get on it and taught. So can you teach it how to jump? And you must be pretty fearless, I would imagine. Would that be an asset that you describe yourself as having?
Some days, it depends what sort of day you get me on. Yeah, no. To be honest, it's very good. Touch wood. You don't see many Richards go around that jump badly. So we obviously get something right at home. I think we do all the basics right. It's never complicated. We don't rush them. If they're not ready, they're not ready. You know, it's not something you can rush because you end up making mistakes when you do rush it. So we don't actually ever do anything that you need to be fearless with because there is natural progression. If you end up getting scared of doing it at some point, then you're obviously moving too quickly for the horse, because they should actually just be able to do it without it going wrong. Really, it does go wrong on the odd occasion. Don't get me wrong, but you should keep it simple enough that it's all easy to do.
Well, look, we've had a question, Charge. I think it's quite an interesting one from Deborah, and she's asking about whether or not you feel better getting on a horse that you've schooled and know well, or do you feel a bit nervous when perhaps you're getting on a horse at the racecourse for the first ever time? Presumably it must help if you've schooled them at home and you've got to know them. Yeah, it helps lots. I mean, I'm very lucky. I wouldn't be one to worry too much. I think I'm fairly laid back and I wouldn't really get very nervous about anything. But obviously it does help knowing a horse, knowing what they're going to do at home, you know, because some horses have got a lot more scope than others. So some like going long and some just like popping away. So if you know a horse at home, you tend to know what they're going to do at the races. I mean, it doesn't always quite translate like that. But obviously it does help to get to know them. Definitely. Now, obviously, Charlie, we've known you an awful long time and you've been riding for us for many years, you made out before. And I don't think it'll be unfair to say that you've always been a talented jockey, but I think also it's fair to say you've improved a lot over the last few years, if I'm polite enough to say that. And I think it's inevitable from a £10 claimer to a professional that you are now. I think things that you've really developed, you know, great feedback, and that's something that Foxtrot members always say after you've been into the paddock and the winners' enclosure. You always get good feedback. I think you see a stride, you get the pace of the race right. Has those areas that you've really developed and improved been very conscious? Have you gone away and really worked on becoming a better jockey, or is it just something that sort of almost happened naturally as you gain more experience?
It is things you work on. Like we're very lucky at Richards. Obviously, we've got the sand canter in the last. That's only very recent. But like you've got the speedo on the gallops every day, so you get to know speeds of horses and what speed you're doing roughly. And I can watch a race now at home, and I mean I've always been able to know if someone's going too quick. But you can watch at home now, and you can look at the speed on the bottom left, say on racing TV, and you can see them going. I don't know, in a 2-mile race, 39 miles an hour in the first mile constantly. Well, that's too quick. They can't sustain that for 2 miles unless they're a top level horse, don't get me wrong. So you get to know roughly the speed a horse should be going most days in the races and everything like that. And back to the old days a bit more, we obviously used to have the heart rate monitors on. We still do now, but we didn't have a speedo. So on the gallop at Linacres, we had the heart rate monitor, so you could always tell what horse's speed should be going on each horse. Like so like a Blagapar, he would be a bit quicker than other horses, he'd be a bit slower than the horses, but you'd know roughly what you're holding on to and what speed you're going. And it would get to the point where if Rod were to say to me after a piece of work, oh, what speed do you reckon you did on that, you could get within a mile per hour or two of each horse, which, to be honest, I don't know how many other lads would be able to do. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's plenty that could, but I'm sure there's a few that would be miles off as well, because it's not an easy thing to do. But the biggest aspect is fitness more than anything else. You can work on your fitness as much as you want, but it's all muscle memory, and riding all the time helps, and riding better horses, the top quality horses like I've been lucky enough to ride the last couple of years, have helped me improve loads. Because
the Foxtrot ones, you mean?
Exactly that. I've not ridden any of the, and I don't mean this horribly, because they got me to where I got to and they got me riding all the time, but riding for some of the small trainers I was riding for on a regular basis, doing stuff that they wanted me to do but probably wasn't the right way to ride the horses. It's a bit detrimental to your riding. Although it's getting you riding all the time, it's a bit detrimental because you're not riding correctly. You're just riding to keep people happy. Whereas now I've got a free rein a bit with Richard, and sometimes anyway. And like, if I just make a decision in the race, I can come back in and make a point to it. And he's like, oh, fair enough. Whereas, as a £7 claimer, it's a bit more hard for him to believe. But now I've ridden the winners I've ridden, and we've all had a lot of success together. It's a lot easier for him to take and to, yeah, actually, I agree with that. So it works nicely.
Well, I think one thing certainly Richard always does is he wants the feedback from jockeys, and is very open to listening to those that are riding, both at the racecourse and also at home. And I think that must be quite pleasing in a way, to feel that your opinion has been listened to. Yeah, massively. I mean, there's nothing better than giving Richard an opinion, and either the next time when it runs, it being in the race, like a race that you suggested over that sort of trip on that sort of ground, and hopefully it works. I mean, 9 times out of 10 it normally does, and it fills you with confidence. Of course it fills you with confidence, because you've got people believing in what you're saying. It's what you all need. It is what you all need. Well, look, Charlie, let's take a couple of questions from some of the syndicate members. So if you've got any questions, please put your virtual hand up by using the reaction button at the bottom, or if you can't figure out how to do that, just wave and we'll try and get you on. So let's take a couple of questions from the chat. So Richard has asked, do you use a jockey coach? So when I was a conditional, every conditional gets assigned a jockey coach. I was very lucky. My jockey coach was Carl Llewellyn. I mean, he's a dual Grand National winning jockey, isn't he? No better guy, really. I mean, I wouldn't want to do some of the stuff he's done with his social life, maybe. That's probably the best way of saying it. But he is a great bloke, and he was a big help, not just with my riding, actually. With he advised me on like buying a house and stuff like that. So it goes more deeper than just your actual riding. But Carl was my jockey coach, and it was really nice because some of the jockey coaches, Roddy Green is a big jockey coach. He's got loads of lads, and they're all good riders, but he tries to get them all to ride more like a flat day. It's all about style. Whereas Carl was very good. Carl was like, if you've got your own way of doing it, he won't try and change it. He'll try and improve it, but he won't try and change it, because everyone's different and people use people for different reasons. It might not be because they're the most stylish. It might be because
They're good at talking. But people like you for who you are. They don't want you to change dramatically. So Carl was very good. He sort of pushed you in the right direction without trying to change all your riding, because if you try and change too much, it inevitably goes downhill.
Yeah. So we've had quite a few questions about sort of how you got to become a jockey. So just tell us a little bit about your background, Charlie, and how you ended up in the role that you've got now.
So I was very lucky. My mum and dad, well, my mum's family aren't horsey at all, but my mum was. She learnt to ride in a riding school and got into pony club and then went down that route. Whereas my dad, his dad owned a load of horses, well, a few horses, pointers. So he worked in an antique shop that my granddad owned. And then my dad rode a few of his pointers, and my dad decided one day that he'd ridden for a few other people and he wanted to start training pointers. So he did that. And then he got a national hunt license out, and he trained a few winners. He's actually given up now, but I was very lucky. From when I was very young, I always grew up with horses. My mum had horses, my dad had horses, and we just grew up with pointers. And then in the end, national hunt horses. And I was lucky I rode a couple of winners for my old man before he gave up, and they both now work at the racing school in Newmarket. So it was, I was very lucky, and it wasn't the only route I could have taken. I think my dad would have loved me to have gone to college and uni, to be honest, but it was a natural progression, to be honest.
And obviously, I think when you rode Von Romane, that was a sort of a race for those people that had been involved in the pony club when they were younger. So presumably the pony club had played a pretty sort of key role in terms of your development as a jockey.
Yeah, so I did Pony Club Race Days, which is all part of that series that I rode Von Romane, and so I did a lot of pony racing. I didn't win many races. I normally was the kid out the back on the hairy cob, to be honest, because mum and dad didn't have lots of money, and I got given the ponies that we bought for about 900 quid, and we had to try and make them a bit of something. But it was all a nice grounding and a nice background to come up from, because as much as I'd love to sit and steer a few ponies round, I've probably learnt more pushing a big hairy cob round than I did sitting looking pretty on one. Not that I've ever done that, but so yeah, I did lots of pony racing ever since, from the age of 9 up to 15, I think. So it was really nice, and I made some good friends. You know, Tom and Holly Marquand, well, Holly Doyle, Tom Marquand. They're obviously due to be married. They're engaged. I grew up with them, both the Bowen boys, Stan Shepherd, and we're all still good friends to this day. It's really nice, really nice.
Now, another question we've had, we know that hurdles can be different at different race courses, but are the chase fences all the same, or do they vary from race course to race course?
Oh, no, that is a tricky one, because in theory they're all supposed to be the same. They're not. They're definitely not. I don't care what anyone says. And most of the lads in the weighing room would agree with you. Some of them, everyone describes it as a bit of belly. And what that is you've always got the top of the fence, but then, so if you look at this, you've got the top there. It's the bit that sticks out like that going into the fence that you almost run into. Some have more of a belly than others. Now, I always prefer a fence that's got a bit more belly, because although it makes the fence a bit bigger, it means that the horses back off them a bit more, and they just think about it, and they quite possibly respect it a bit more. It makes them make a nice shape. You know, they arch themselves properly. It's a bit like those hurdles at Southwell. You've probably all seen the hurdles at Southwell. They're a bit like the schooling hurdles almost, but they make them make an effort. Whereas some of these other hurdles, like the old Tim, they can just flick through them, but they can't do that. They've got to show more respect to the ones at Southwell. So there is a big difference in them, actually, and some are thinner than others. You'll quite often see a jockey walk up to them and brush their shoulder into the fence, and that's to see how stiff they are. So that's how well packed the fences are. So the top packed they are, the less of a mistake you'll get away with. Whereas we always say through it, which it means that it's not that well packed, you'll get away with more of a mistake. Leicester are quite big fences, and they're quite well packed normally. So they're all different, actually. They are all different.
So I think we've just about run out of time, but we've got one more question which we've come through the chat, which I think I'm quite intrigued by the answer. So let's find out. So before the race, jockeys come in the paddock and they say, oh yes, there's lots of pace or there's no pace. How do you actually figure that out? Do you guys sort of get together in a little meeting inside the weighing room and have a chat, or how in practice do you actually decide who's going to lead if there's much pace? And the other part of that is, is there much talking that actually goes on between jockeys during a race, or are you all just silent and concentrating on your horse?
So before the races, everyone normally goes around and goes, "Oh, so what are you doing in this? What's your plan?" So we do have a brief discussion. Now, it's never in so much detail, but we do have a brief discussion. We get a 5-minute call before we're due out in the paddock. So that's like caps on jockeys. So we put the caps on and tie the bow in it and put our goggles on and put the gloves on and all of that. And then we tend to stand around and wait for the last call to go out to the paddock. So whilst we're waiting for the last call, we normally talk about what everyone's going to do. Obviously, we've got a brief idea if we've looked through the form previously, but we'll all talk to each other, see what everyone's doing, and then if someone's not making the run-in, obviously that can change in the paddock because, there's no pace today. And then you can all of a sudden you get down to start, you'll have 3 people making the run-in because everyone's gone and said, there's no pace. And all the trainers gone, great, well, we'll pop out today. So it can change in the paddock quite a bit. But you tend to roughly know what everyone's plan is. And it works quite nicely, actually, that it's not really a rule, but we do it as whoever gets down to the start first gets their position. So if you're down first and you want the inside, you get the inside. If you're down last and you want the inside, you've probably got no chance, to be honest. Which is why nowadays, as soon as the bell goes, you see everyone rushing over to get onto the horse and down to the start as early as they can. So everyone does roughly know what they're doing before the race. It doesn't always work out because obviously everyone can want to do the same thing. You quite often see, especially in the 0 to 100s, lots of people lining up because all the trainers think that popping out is the best idea with the moderate horse. Maybe it doesn't always work like that. They can quite often go too quick, but you do roughly know what you're doing. And then in the race, do we talk? Yeah, some people love talking. I'm quite a good talker. I don't mind talking, I'll be honest. I'm quite happy to talk to another lad all the way around. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't lose concentration. It's quite nice, I think. At least you know that you're breathing if you're talking. Whereas some people absolutely will, even if you make a comment to them, will not reply to you. Absolutely not at all. And it just depends how much they're in their zone and in their little bubble. It's not because they're being rude. It's just because they're in their bubble and they're concentrating on what they're doing, and it's their way of doing it. But I quite happy to talk. I know Sammy talks a little bit as well, quite a bit as well. And like the Bowens talk, they like a good laugh on the way around. And yeah, you do talk quite.
So I think the summary of that, Charlie, is don't let the owners talk to you too much in the parade ring, because really you need to get on the horse and get a good position. Would that be a fair summary of that?
No, not at all. I can talk to the owners as much as they want, but yeah, before the race, we are in a bit of a rush. If the bell goes to, if ever we just do a run when we're halfway through a conversation, don't think we're being rude, because we're just getting our mojo to get down to start.
Brilliant. Well, Charlie, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening. It's really very much appreciated. Congratulations on reaching 100 winners from everyone at Foxtrot, and best of luck for the rest of the season. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you on plenty of Foxtrot horses between now and the end of the season. So, Charlie, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, that was Charlie Hammond, who's obviously rides a lot for Foxtrot, and we wish him the very best for the rest of the season. Now, before we move on to the next guest, let's just have a little reminder of a race that I just can't watch often enough. A fantastic day for Foxtrot racing, and a fantastic day for Paige Fuller and James Snowden.
Taken by New Uptown Lady, and then the struggling at the back of the field Rainer's World, and pulled up is Little River Bay, who just has not fired at all today. So inside the final 3 furlongs they go. On the far side, Sandy Mount Rose appears to be going the best. She's a mare who's already managed to win over 3 miles, so she's got the stamina in the tank. She's now being taken on by Anything for Love on the near side, and Misty Whiskey is rallying to the cause between mares. Coming now into the wings of the second from home. Sandy Mount Rose on the far side. Anything for Love on the near side. A rather slow jump back in third by Misty Whiskey. And then Rainer's World into fourth, followed by Uptown Lady. And the others at long intervals. And they're racing now inside the final furlong and a half. One more flight to take. Anything for Love and Paige Fuller on the near side just have the lead. Sandy Mount Rose is on the far side. Rainer's World is staying on and seating the rider Uptown Lady. Misty Whiskey looks held. They've still got a half furlong to go. Anything for Love is all out, leads by about 2 lengths to Sandy Mount Rose in second. Misty Whiskey is back in third, but as they race up towards the line, it is Anything for Love who outstays them to take this Jane Seymour mare's novices hurdle. It was Anything for Love and Paige Fuller from Sandy Mount Rose, Misty Whiskey and Rainer's World.
Well, I let the video play on there because wasn't it great to see Paige's reaction at the end of that race? And what a fantastic win that was for Anything for Love. So I'm delighted that this evening we've got a double whammy. We've got both Jamie and Paige with us this evening. So good evening to both of you.
Hi, Dan.
Well, we've got a hi, Jamie, and I think we've got Paige
Sorry,
as well.
I'm off mute now. Sorry. Hi, everyone.
Well, first of all, thank you very much indeed for both of you giving up your evening to join us. So really appreciate that. And let's start off just by talking about Anything for Love. And Jamie, perhaps I can come to you first. How is she?
Yeah, she's absolutely fine. Poor girl, she's just been crying out for the rain, and obviously we've had the driest autumn probably on record, and we've gone from a dry, warm autumn to a snowy, frozen winter. There's been no rain at all, so poor girl, she's one horse that really has been crying out for a bit of rain, but she's in great form.
Well, look, I know lots of people will have questions for Jamie, but particularly, I suspect, for Paige. So if you've got any questions, please use either the chat box at the bottom of your screen or the reaction button and put your hand up and we'll come to you to ask a question live in a few minutes. So do get involved because we'd love to hear your questions. And Paige, we've talked about it before, but very briefly, that was obviously a very memorable day, and we could see by your reaction at the end, you're absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was such a big day for all the team. I know obviously we'd had the Grade 2 winner earlier in the season with Garlaw, but before the season, Jamie had never achieved a sort of graded winner. So, you know, for the second one of the season, and especially for him and you guys to have faith in me to ride her as well, to stand in for Gav, you know, I was just so relieved from my point of view that I could deliver for her what we knew she could be as well. So I just think all those emotions were just sort of, were just built up, and it was great.
Well, I'm sure we'll touch back on Anything for Love shortly with some of the questions, but let's talk about another horse that we've had a lot of success with this year, and Beholden has had a super season. 6 runs, only been out of the first 3, I think, once, 2 wins, and of course won very impressively at Wincanton when sort of Upton trip. And Jamie, he's had a great summer.
He really has, hasn't he? Obviously, we bought him last winter with very much the summer in mind, and he's been a great horse. Obviously, jumping was a little bit of an issue earlier on in the summer, but we put plenty of work into that, and it was lovely to see him going and winning on 2 occasions, and obviously the last occasion where he, you know, absolutely bolted up, which was really exciting.
And Paige, I know you do a lot of work with the schooling. Just to sort of explain about your role sort of in the yard. Well,
I'm lucky. I don't live far from Lambourne, so I've sort of always grown up in the area and ridden out for Jamie. It's a great base to have. Obviously, since I'm fully fledged professional, I don't have to be in there as much, but I sort of tend to try and be in there for work mornings and schooling mornings. Hopefully Jamie finds that helps, but also for me it's quite nice to get to know the horses. Even if I can't sit on them all, you can kind of keep an eye, see what's sort of going on and what's working well, and what each horse is doing. So, you know, as I say, I hope I can bring some help to the yard. But from my point of view as a jockey for the yard as well, it's quite nice to sort of be able to see that sort of side of what's going on and getting to know the horses a bit better too.
Your ride on Beholden when he won over sort of 2.5 miles, I thought was a masterclass of getting the pace absolutely right. And it always seems to me to be a real strength of yours in terms of leading from the front, getting the pace right. And I mean, no one got anywhere near him that day. I mean, it was a tremendous ride and also a tremendous performance from Beholden to keep plugging away.
Yeah, he was really impressive that day. And obviously on good to firm ground around Wincanton, you know that actually, you know, the horses aren't going to find it as tiring as normal. And funny enough, I'd actually spoken to Gav before, obviously having him having ridden him before, and he said to me, look, he'll travel really well between the hurdles, but he might just be a bit slow over the hurdles, because obviously initially his jumping was a bit slower in the races. So I came down to the first and I sort of put the revs right up coming into the first, but I think I then massively lit him up, and his jumping obviously having improved so much, I then realized that I sort of put the accelerator flat to the ground. So actually, you know, he just sort of took off, but in a nice way. You know, he got into a really nice rhythm, and as I say, on that ground, he could just keep sort of that pace up and keep that rhythm. I think so much, especially in front, so much of it is just getting them in a rhythm within themselves, because, you know, like when you go jogging, not everyone's going to run at the same pace, but you've just got to do what you're comfortable with, haven't you? And he was very comfortable and absolutely winged the hurdles, and yeah, it didn't take much out of him at all.
Yeah, not many people that go jogging with me go at my pace. Sorry. And let's just move on to Hogan's Height, who obviously runs this Saturday, Jamie. And what form is he in at the moment?
Well, Dan, I'm pinching myself with every evening that I look round, because we didn't have a clear run of anything last season. This season, I'm just touching every bit of wood possible, because he's like a gazelle. He's like a 3-year-old. He's moving great. And touch wood, we couldn't be happier with him, which is just wonderful, because every time I picked up the phone to you last season, Dan, I was issuing you yet more bad news for poor old Hogan. So last season was obviously a complete write-off, really. It was a miracle that he even got to the National, let alone jump round. So no, I'm thoroughly excited and looking forward to Saturday.
There was actually a time last season, James, just before the Grand National, I'm not sure if everyone knows that I banned you from ringing me, because I said I didn't want to see your name coming up on my phone. So you're not allowed to ring me, because I don't want to think it's bad news. So
do you know, isn't it amazing though, Dan? I horses can just have good seasons, and they can just have bad seasons, can't they? And nothing went right for the poor chap last year. Obviously, having won the Sefton the time before, everything was sort of all guns blazing for the National, and COVID set in. And last year, poor chap, everything he did just went wrong. But fair play to the horse to get to the National and get round.
No, that was a fantastic day, and turned into something very, very special. And actually, I'll just mention that on Saturday we've organised a course walk with the Aintree historian, which I know a lot of the members of the Hogan's Height Syndicate are going to join us on. So that's at 9:30 at Aintree on Saturday. And if anyone else is coming to Aintree on Saturday who isn't in the Hogan's Height Syndicate that would like to join us for that course walk, then they're very welcome. Just drop me an email, and there'll be a group of us being taken around the Aintree fences with the Aintree historian to tell us a little bit about the history of Aintree and to show us around the fences. So it should be a really, really fun day on Saturday. And if anyone would like to join us for that, just drop me an email. Now, obviously, Jamie, you mentioned about the Grand Sefton there, and obviously Page rode in the Grand Sefton last month. Earlier this month, wasn't it? Start of this month. And Paige, just tell us a little bit about that. So what's it really like to go over the Grand National fences?
It was quite an experience. I think I'd only ever had one ride over the fences before, which was in the Fox Hunters, and the horse knew exactly what he was doing and didn't want to do it. And so he pulled himself up by Beechers. I think I was tailed off by the chair. And actually Hogan was the complete opposite. You know, he just loves those fences, doesn't he? It's quite it's lovely how, you know, he's obviously not a small horse, but he's also not a massive horse, is he? But he's so clever and intelligent. He can sort it himself out so well. And to be honest, it was just over in a flash, because the fences all come up quite a lot quicker than normal fences. So you're sort of focusing on the next fence that you're riding to. And, you know, we were sort of out of the back of Valentine's. It was, it was gone so quickly. But no, he's just phenomenal, isn't he? And, I really hope, obviously, he finished the race off really well. So, I think that was the sort of initial reaction to everyone afterwards, wasn't it? Like, let's have a go at the beaches with a couple more furlongs. So it's really exciting, isn't it?
Well, we're all really looking forward to Saturday. And we've got a question from David who asked, do you prepare differently for a race over the Grand National fences than you would sort of a normal chase?
I suppose probably... Technically, no. I mean, every track, obviously, you have to take into consideration all the different parts of each track. So realistically, probably not. I went and I did walk the course with Brian Harding, one of the jockey coaches, because even though I had walked around the track and been around with him before, obviously it was a few years ago. So, I just sort of made sure that I knew exactly what to expect. But I'd probably do that if I was going to ride in the Champion Hurdle or something, you probably make sure that you left absolutely no stone unturned. But no, I do, to be honest, all races, you're always sort of trying to work out where the best ground might be, or if it's been raining, you'll think, okay, well, like at Sandown, for example, on heavy ground, because you use the hurdles track as a flat track, you'll be aware that coming out the home straight on anything fluff, I was thinking, well, I don't want to be down the inside because that gets really chewed up. So that's why I pulled her wide, and all those sorts of things. You're always sort of trying to think of how to get the next edge, really.
Absolutely. And just going back to Jamie, you've had a phenomenal season. I mean, you must be, I was having a look at your strike rate, I think it's about 20% this season. I mean, you must be absolutely delighted with the way this year's gone so far.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's been a good summer, and thankfully the form of the horses have carried on through the autumn and into the winter, as it were. So no, delighted, and long may it continue.
Well, look, Jamie and Paige, we're very, very grateful for your time this evening, and thank you very much for taking time out from your schedule to join us. We shall hopefully look forward to seeing you on Saturday. I know the syndicate's really excited about having a runner in the Beecher Chase. It's one of those days I think we all know is in the calendar, and to be involved in a day like that is going to be great fun. So thank you both for all your work and getting Hogan's Height to the racecourse. Let's keep our fingers crossed nothing goes wrong between now and Saturday. And we'll very much look forward to hopefully a fun day out for the syndicate. Great stuff. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, thanks very much to Jamie and to Paige for joining us. I know a very, very busy time of year, so really do appreciate them giving up their time to join us this evening. Now, we've got one more guest before we finish off, and do have a think about any questions that you've got for Martin, who's going to be joining us in a second. But before he does so, I'd like to just have one more look at a race day that I think we all enjoyed, where witness protection became, I think, something of a hero to many of us for what was, I think, one of the most outstanding jumping displays I've seen from a novice for a long, long time. So let's have a quick reminder about his win at Chepstow.
Ridden and Stormy quite asked any questions yet, but travels all right at the back of the field with a bit to do. Coming up the home straight, 5 more fences left to take. Witness protection, a flying leap there at the 5th last, and he's clear by 4 lengths then. Not available, Amarillo Sky. Red Rookie continuing to impress with the way he's travelling into this as they go to the last open ditch, and he met it on a good stride there to Witness protection, and he's galloping on pretty nicely here, coming down towards the 3rd last. Amarillo Sky and Red Rookie are chasing him hard, though. Over the 3rd last they go, and it's still Witness protection. He's leading by about 2.5 lengths. Red Rookie now between him and Amarillo Skies, being produced with a challenge at the second last. Didn't jump that quite as fluently as Tom Bellamy would have liked, though. One more fence to go. Witness Protection and James Best coming up to it now. It's been fast and furious, this race. He's over it well. Red Rookie is chasing him. He's got 3 lengths to find, though, on the run-in. It's Witness Protection, though, being kept up to his work. Red Rookie is trying hard on the outside. He is gaining on him, but surely it's not going to be, he's going to be too late, surely, and he is. Witness Protection.
Hooray.
You ran on really well into second.
Well, I'm delighted that Martin's joined us this evening. So, Martin, how are you?
Full of cold, actually, so I hope you can understand what I'm saying. But apart from that, fine.
Well, I appreciate you joining us because I know you've been away today and had to sort of rush back. So thank you very much for joining up with us. And we hope you're feeling better soon. Yeah. But let's get on to Witness Protection. I mean, that was a phenomenal performance. Only his 3rd ever run over fences. And I mean, he saw off those horses, even a mile out, he looked like the winner. He was breathtaking, wasn't he? He travelled super through the race, but he's jumping. He was just taking lengths out of him most of the way around. And yeah, he's just got such an high cruising speed, but to jump as well as he did, he was always going to take a lot of catching that day. And the second horse, Emma Lavelle, thinks a lot of that. And obviously the horse back in 3rd, that won impressively at Newbury. The 4th horse of the Tizard horse has run as well. And obviously going back to that Newton Abbott race, everything's won. The form are just working out outstanding. And yeah, it's just very exciting. You love to see the form franked, and you would hope there's still more to come from Witness Protection as well. I must say, I've never been involved in a horse whose form has worked out better, as you say. I mean, that race he ran on the 10th of October, I think the 4 runners, they've raced 5 times between them since. All 5 have won. And that race we just watched, as you say, the 3rd and 4th have both won since. In fact, they're the only horse that have finished that have run since, and they've both won. So no horse has not won that Witness Protection has beaten. So absolutely phenomenal. So let's hope that that's a good omen for the future. And what are future plans for Witness Protection? Well, he'll have a couple of entries at the Cheltenham December meet on the Saturday. There's a handicap action over 2 miles. I would prefer it on the ground on the softer side to run in a handicap over 2 miles. And then there's a 2 mile 4 novice, just a straight novice chase. I just think we have a look at the 2 options. We can monitor both races, decorations, and choose the most suitable race for him. But yeah, he's in really good form. He worked well at the weekend, and he'll have a school this week and another bit of work, and we'll be set to go. Sounds like it could be a fun day out at Cheltenham for his syndicate. Oh, definitely. So, Martin, obviously we've enjoyed phenomenal success with our Foxtrot horses with you. We obviously had Solstice Star, who had on a free lease. It was incredibly successful, who we've retired. Witness Protection, we mentioned. Pay the Woman, we've had a lot of successful. Now, in her last run at Catterick, she was pulled up pretty early in the race, and we sort of feared the worst. But just give us all an update on Pay the Woman. Yeah, so Sean was never happy. She jumped really well at Foss last over fences, and she was a bit awkward over the first 2. And I don't know if she hurt herself there, and she didn't travel up in the box very well going to Catterick neither. So the physios, they've got 2 physios, and they both checked her, and she's pulled the main muscle, which is behind the saddle, the sacroiliac muscle, which obviously that they need to get their push from there, and that's the muscle they use a lot. And she was very, very sore there. So that's what she'd done, and she's having physio treatment on that, and we'll slowly build her back up. But yeah, that was just a race put a line through. Well, if you've got any questions for Martin, do put them in the chat, or is anyone brave enough to come on and get involved in the video? So just put your hand up with the reactions, or you can wave, and we'll come to you and you can ask Martin a question directly. Martin, this season, well, I think last week, if I'm right, you reached 300 winners. You've got an incredible 24% strike rate this season. I mean, it's incredible. What's going on? I don't know. We haven't really changed too many things.
from the summer, we just had an amazing summer, and the winter horses came in and they just carried on in the same form. It's just been fantastic, and big team effort, and everyone's working hard, and it's just great to get the results. And it's just it's not like some of these horses have been coming out and winning once. They're just been running the Patricks, and they're just really the horses going the right way. And our best ever season was 34 winners, and we're on 31 at the moment. So I'll be disappointed if we don't beat that.
Well, it's great to see the yard in such good form. I mean, you obviously top quality training. You've got some fantastic facilities there, and it's great to see you getting your rewards on the racecourse. And obviously, we've enjoyed phenomenal success with the horses we've had with you, and hopefully, long may that continue. We've got a question, Phil. You're gonna get involved. So we've got a question here for you, Martin, from Phil.
Hey, Phil.
Hi, Martin. Not so much a question, just say congratulations. And also, it was great to see you and the family on the TV at Cheltenham when back on the last one. You guys know how to celebrate.
we do, yeah. It's just great. All the family just so involved, and just everyone probably gets a bit too excited, but why not? A Cheltenham win is a big thing, and just great. The two young boys just really get into it as well.
They're on ITV more than you are, I think. Schooling.
I think they are, especially Freddie, who does a bit of filming on ITV for his mini ad, so he loves that. So it's really good for them, and yeah.
And I'm in the syndicate with Pay the Woman. How long would she be out for? When would she be able to run again, do you think?
Well, she's doing gentle work as well as a physio, because she needs to keep working that muscle just to build it back up. And I'd say another quiet week next week, and the physios will check her out again, and then hopefully back doing some quicker work. So you would hope to be maybe back on the track 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers, Phil.
Martin, I think one of the things that really comes across whenever we visit the yard, and you always put on a really good stable visit, is that collective sort of family feel that you have in the yard. And all the staff seem incredibly friendly. They seem keen to do the best. And you see them celebrating the winners, frankly, as if they're the owners. And the question, I suppose, is, how have you managed to bring together such experienced and good staff? And do you think they've played an important role in your success this year?
Without a doubt, we've got no young members of in the team at the moment. They're all very well experienced, and I just think it's vital just to have good work riders, and we have ex-jockeys come in as well, which lead work, and I think that's been a big part. Just having jockeys what are leading the groups and getting the right pace, and if anything, in between their fast work days, I'd probably do a bit less with them. I just think it's vital. It's a very fine line to. You need them ultra fit because it's so competitive, but you don't want to overtrain them. You need them fresh as well, so they travel well in their races, and that seems to be working out really well this season. Just you can work them hard on the 2 days of the week, but keep them fresh in between.
And obviously, you've got some very good jockeys riding for you as well. And Sean Bowen's obviously been riding for a little bit more this year. We've obviously just seen James Best, who rode a superb race on Witness Protection. And that must help as well, having some top jockeys not only coming in, but also being available on race day.
Oh, definitely. And they both come in, do a lot of schooling, and they get to know the horses as well, which is a big thing as well, because they're going out with confidence. They know they jump well, they know they're working well. But yeah, like you say, just James Best, lots and lots of experience, and he's a good rider. And like you say, Witness Protection that day, no one else could have ridden him any better than that, could he? I know it didn't go to plan the time before, because we felt we should have probably won that race at Newton, which makes his form look even stronger. And obviously Sean Bowen he was top jockey, and I could see him being champion jockey one day. So to have him coming in and involved in the yard and riding lots of winners for us is fantastic too.
Now, how many winners have you trained at Cheltenham?
21 now.
21. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. So let's hope we can make it 22 at some stage this season.
We've just printed out. It got delivered last week. Our Cheltenham winners board. We need to put it up and open need to replace it again a week on Saturday.
Well, let's hope so. Well, look, Martin, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I really do appreciate it. I know you've sort of rushed back so you can join us this evening, and we hope you're feeling better, and we look forward very much to seeing you at Cheltenham.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, everyone.
Brilliant. Well, that's Martin, and frankly, no nicer person in racing. What a fantastic guy he is, and very grateful for him joining us this evening. So that is all our guests for the forum. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. Just one word of warning for those people going to Southwell tomorrow to see King Arise. We're really looking forward to seeing him run and make his racecourse debut. There is Southwell have just called an inspection, so that's going to be at 7:30 in the morning. So just make sure that you check before setting off to check that Southwell is on. I'll obviously send an email out to the King Arise Syndicate in the morning if it's off. But fingers crossed that'll be on, and looking forward to seeing him run. We're very much looking forward to a busy week. We've got Odden Lee likely to go to Market Raisin. We've got Ballybody likely to go to Sandown. And we've got Hogan's Height, who's likely to go to Aintree. So lots to look forward to the rest of this week, and hopefully lots of fun and maybe even a win or two. So thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been great to see everyone, and look forward to catching up with everyone on the racecourse very soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.